Hey friends, welcome back. So today I'm going to be doing a review of the Kizer Fluid 4 frames. I've been riding the Fluid 4s for about a year now. I purchased them with my own money, and today in this video what I'm going to do is just kind of give you an overview of the frame, talk about the things that I like, things that I maybe didn't like, give you my overall impressions, and then sum it up with who I think this frame is best for.
Yeah, just decide last minute. Yeah.
The Kizer Fluid 4 is a stock or aftermarket frame, and what that means is it comes stock on certain skates, or you can buy it aftermarket. It does come in 3 wheelbase lengths, so you can buy it in approximately 250, 260, or 270, and that's different because a lot of frame manufacturers only make like a 250 or a 270. So this is strictly an anti-rocker frame. As you can see, there's not really any middle wheel protection in there, and because the middle wheels are pushed further out, it's going to be hard to get a normal sized wheel to fit in there and be able to roll. And then they make 2 different versions of the frame. One is just kind of your standard colors, so this would be white and gray, and then they have a black version like this one here, which they call the super fluid, and that is a carbon infused frame, which is supposed to make riding it faster. I'll let you know what I think about that later in this video. So what are the things that I like about these frames? First off, I really like how deep and wide this H-block is, and it is perfect for locking into grinds. You know, it's also perfect if you're one of those people who don't land exactly perpendicular to a ledge or a rail, and you land with your feet somewhat angled, like I do, and you know, as you can see, it has like the perfect rotation to be able to truly land on a grind and ride it the way that you feel comfortable riding it. You know, another thing that I like is the hardware that comes on these is really solid and durable metal. So some manufacturers of frames, you'll find that, you know, their axles are softer so they're easier to strip. These don't have that problem at all. They're super solid. I found that the regular frames slid exceptionally fast. You know, didn't need a lot of wax for these. There was very little friction, and you know, they were super solid for wearing too. I mean, you can see I rode these for, you know, about 6 months, and they barely look like they're worn in. I will say that, you know, with the carbon, I didn't notice a difference. It's meant to be harder, faster, but for me, I rode both of these frames about the same amount of time and didn't really notice a difference. So take that for what you will. You know, as I mentioned, feels really good when grinding and landing in your grinding position. One nice thing about these frames too is because they are a thicker plastic, they don't flex or twist or deflect at all when you're landing. So that means you get really good power transfer, but also means that they're really good for landings and less likely to break unless you wear in the plastic enough where, you know, something like that can happen. You know, I am a 275 Mondo, and I find that, you know, with frame manufacturers, a 250 millimeter wheelbase is too short and a 270 base is too long. And I was drawn to the Kizer Fluid 4s because they have a 260, and I was curious to see how that fit for me, and to me it was the perfect fit. So you can see, like, on my icons here, how, you know, this is a size, I want to say 43 for a 275, and you can see how well this frame fits the length of this boot. So that's something that I really like and appreciate, that those options are there just to split the difference. Another thing that I think is really positive with this is it has a relatively low ride height. So it means you're not standing super tall off the ground. And where that helps is makes it a little easier for getting boot down. Especially with me, like I have a bum knee that I have to kind of protect. And, just makes it a little more forgiving. I rode these on the rollerblade blanks, the Icon AG15s, the Factions, and the Standard Omni. And in general, it all was a really good fit. I did find that on the blanks, it was a little squirrely, just because the blanks, the frame sits up, mounts to the bottom of the boot. So it's like recessed up into the sole plate. And because of how wide those sole plates are, when I was skating coping, I found that like I was riding more on the backside plate and not really touching the frame. So something just to be aware of is that this frame may be better suited for some boots versus others. But I did try them on, 4 different boots, and in general, they were all really good. As I mentioned, really good on ledges, rails, transition, because they're super solid, and, they slide really well. And then, another thing that I really liked about these is how well the wheels slid in. Like, there's some manufacturers where you have to, like, pry the plastic open to drop wheels in, and I didn't have that problem at all. I got these, and it was just boop, boop, done deal. So those are all the things that I liked about it.
That was bad.
It's fine.
So was there anything that I disliked about these frames? Honestly, not really, but if I had to pick a couple things that I feel could be improved upon, then, I would mention these 2 things. The first being that the carbon frames, when I set them on a table, you can see that they're slightly warped, so they don't sit completely flat on the ground. But I found that, once I mount them to the boot, I don't really notice any of that when riding. So it's more just like a manufacturing nitpick. I don't know if that was due to a batch, but when you compare it to like this frame, you can see that it doesn't rock at all. But this one did. So something to consider. And then, it's interesting because the carbon frames come with different axles. So the carbon frames, the superfluids, they come with axles that actually join in the middle of the wheel. And I found that for whatever reason, this axle is not as solid of a ride as the ones that go all the way through and then connect in the end. And the reason for that is because this meets in the middle and they are coated in black. There is some play and flex in there, and I found that, when riding, it kind of caused the wheels to move a little bit. Not the biggest issue, but I much prefer the axles that came on the standard frame. When I say standard, the non-superfluid. But, those are kind of the only things that really weren't up to my preference. So what is my overall impression on this? I think it is an overall great anti-rocker frame. I don't think that there's a noticeable difference between the standard frame and the superfluid carbon frame. So take that for what it's worth. And then I like that this has more size options just to fit the foot lengths that fall in between a 250 and a 270 millimeter wheelbase. And then I, really love the hardware on this because it helped make for a super solid ride.
That's fine, you do it.
So who is this frame best for? Honestly, this is for someone who is looking for a very solid, very fast, affordable anti-rocker frame. It's really easy to set up, really durable, gives you a really solid ride. And honestly, the only person that this frame would not be for is somebody who just wants to ride flat. So, another thing is this is a perfect frame if you have a foot that falls in between the 250 and the 270 millimeter wheelbase, and you are looking for something that kind of splits the difference that better fits your boot, like me. This is an outstanding option and something to consider. Well, that wraps up today's review. If you have any questions or comments, or if you've ridden these, let me know what you think or what your questions are, and I'll do my best to try and get back to you. Thanks all for checking in. We'll catch you next time.